Hey guys, it's Retro JoJo again, back for part 2 of games that intrigue me. Today I want to talk about 10 more games that I find interesting, and up first is Doom 3 for the original Xbox. This game was really a great game, and uh, it's got better graphics than the original ones, which are still classics, but the graphics are better on the original Xbox for Doom 3, and you have more of a like horror, almost a Resident Evil type of feel to it, and it has a lot of good enemies. The gore is more realized, although I do appreciate Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, I believe it is. My fault. That's actually Brutal Doom is actually a mod for the original Doom. But it's a great game, great story. If you have never played it, I recommend you check it out. It's a very fun game, very good game. Next is Diablo Eternal Collection for the Switch. And the only reason I have the Switch version, or one of the reasons I picked up the Switch version, is because I really love The Legend of Zelda, as you'll see throughout making YouTube videos. And it has a skin for Ganondorf on it, a Ganondorf skin. So I really like Diablo 3. I had never played Diablo. My friends played it growing up. One of my buddies that I grew up with, he played it like a lot. He had the PC version, I believe, and he enjoyed the heck out of that game. He loved that game. And when I picked up Diablo 3, I was a little, am I going to like this? Is it going to be good? But it's a really fun game. It has a lot of just elements from like RPG elements, and you upgrade your character, and you pick a class. It has a lot of resemblance to a lot of other RPGs that I do also enjoy. So very fun game. I have not finished it yet, but I plan to go back and start over and pick up my class and everything and upgrade my character and finish the game this time, because it's very interesting. It has good gore, good graphics, and it's kind of from a top-down perspective. More like here's you and you're looking at down over your character, but it's a good dungeon crawler. It's very fun, a lot of exploration, a lot of interacting with other NPCs. So very good game. Enjoy that game a lot. So now I want to talk about one of my favorite games ever. I picked this game up, Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, when I was quite young. I was probably maybe 9 or 10. And I picked this game up, and I originally had Battlefront, the first one, on the PS2 as well, and also have it on the original Xbox. Same game, but now it's the same as Battlefront 1, the first one, but Battlefront 2 has space battles. So, and they did a great job, I think, in my opinion, EA, and they patched the new games now, but to a degree, it's not the same as the OG Battlefront 2. It has so many different, it's like you're playing along, whether you play through the campaign, which follows the 501st Legion through there. It's like a journal log, very interesting, into the Imperial era. So from the Republic era, the destruction of the Jedi with Nightfall, with Anakin turning to Darth Vader, and then it goes further. So it's a very great game. And then, like I said, it has great multiplayer, great maps, very memorable. If you love Star Wars, very memorable planets and things that you interact with. And then you have the space for majority of those planets. And also there's a few that are even in Revenge of the Sith. So a very great game. It has different characters that have different things, like soldier classes for each different faction. So very good game, just like third person shooter. and it has different game modes that are very fun and very enjoyable. So now I want to move to Halo 2. I love the Halo games. Have not really played a lot of the later ones, the ones that came out after 2. I know it's kind of, how can you love Halo if you never played all of them? Well, I have to say, Combat Evolved is where I started. Halo Combat Evolved, original Xbox. But then I ordered Halo 2 and it was still sealed. The game was still sealed. And I know a lot of people out there are going to say, well, why did you open it? But I did because I never played it before. And now you have, the other collections that came out on different consoles where you can actually switch between the original graphics and the upgraded graphics. That another, gaming company can't remember their name right now, but they have come in and actually done an upgrade to the graphics. So if you can't get it on the original, I recommend that you pick up one of those collections or that collection and play it that way. But Halo 2, getting back to that, Halo 2, it has great multiplayer. If you love playing, still to this day, couch co-op with your friends, I recommend picking up that game if you have an original Xbox. And it also plays on the 360 as well. If you have the OG Xbox game of Halo 2, it plays on the 360. So if you have a 360, you don't have to go out and buy the first Xbox, the big boy. You don't have to go out and buy that one. But if you do have one, I recommend you do pick it up. It's a great game. And if you're like me and you like the original, graphics, still to this day, it still looks good. It has, great first-person shooter aspects. It just feels like a great game. It has a lot of the things that I enjoy in first-person shooters. You have different weapons you can pick up. And with Halo 2, it was the first time that you could dual wield not just the same weapon, but 2 different weapons. So the only thing is, if you threw a grenade, I believe you had to drop whatever, you had in that hand, which actually does make sense as far as for a first-person shooter. If you're holding 2 weapons, you can't technically hold on to just both of them at the same time because you're throwing a grenade or something like that, or like a flashbang or something like that. So it's a very good game. The multiplayer is fun. It has a lot of good arenas. And also I want to mention there's a multiplayer map pack that you can get for the original Xbox if you buy that version. And it will actually download it, to the Xbox and add it to the game. And then you have a bunch more multiplayer maps. So that alone, if you have both, is worth it to me. And the campaign is great. It follows, right after Combat Evolved, as far as campaign goes, single player mode, excuse me, and it goes directly into Halo 2. And Halo 2 just had a great story to me. But anyway, now I want to talk about Time Splitters 2. Another one of my friends recommended this game a lot. Time Splitters 2. And I was a little, I don't know if I'm going to like this game. It looks kind of, to me at first, it was a little, how do I put this? A little on the maybe generic. I don't like saying that now because of how much I do like it. But I didn't know if I was going to like it. I played it on, he had it on GameCube. And I played it. And it was fun. Played some of the campaign missions. It has a good story. It kind of goes through, like you're a time splitter. And you go through different areas in different times, different time periods. So one, you're in the Old West, and then it'll shoot up, to the future, and you're in like the future with robots and high-tech weapons or aliens, and UFOs crashed, landed on this planet, and stuff like that. And then it'll shoot to, like, one of them was 2019 in Neo Tokyo, which I thought was really cool. But it has a great story. It follows different, like I said, time periods, and you're trying to stop the cannot remember the name of they're like these creatures, and they're the bad guys, and you're trying to stop them from obtaining the time crystals, which I believe would allow them to travel into time, and you're trying to stop them from like altering things, as far as I can tell. But other than just the story and the graphics look good, it really has a good multiplayer. It's fun, and I will say this: it's actually like another company. I was gonna say subsidiary, but like another company um, that broke off from Rareware when they split. After the N64, Rareware was bought by Microsoft Studios, Microsoft Corporation. So, in that, this company continued to make games that they wanted to make, basically. So they kept making I really don't know any other games that they've actually made, but I do know that Time Splitters 2 is a very good game, and I'm glad my friend got me into it. Good graphics, and I can't say anything bad about it. And it even has the kind of, I should mention this, like the health bars that are around. You have in GoldenEye, 007, you have your what is it, your shield, like if you pick up armor, on one side, and then on the other side you have the health bar, and it was kind of around the screen when you paused it, when you looked at James Bond's watch. Well, it has the same feel to it in Time Splitters and Time Splitters 2, and I will say this, Future Perfect, I believe they may have changed some of those things. I know the rating changed with that game, and it had a little bit more, but I still love 2, man. It's a great game. So next is Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. This game is another one of my childhood favorites. Played it quite a bit. My cousin had the game, and when I was younger, I just remember the Battle of Hoth. Everybody remembers the Battle of Hoth from this game, because it was actually the first time, kind of, to a certain degree, in 3D that we had seen, that you could have such a high scale representation of that battle, that iconic battle from Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. And that's where it starts. It starts there, and it follows another smuggler slash kind of mercenary character, similar to Han Solo and kind of Lando Calrissian. But his name's Dash Rendar, and it follows the events from Empire Strikes Back leading up to Return of the Jedi. So great game. I believe they were thinking about making it into a film project. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that. But it ended up being, audiobook, book, and then you had figures that come out for that line, and with Star Wars as well, that promoted Shadows of the Empire. But then, and vehicles and things like that. But then the game came out. The game came out on 64 and PC, and it was just a fun game. Then you had to escape from Echo Base, and you fight a big HEST, and then it goes forward. I won't go through all the missions, and spoil all of it for you in case you decide to play it. But you run into some very familiar faces like Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, IG-88, and then there's Prince Shizor, the main villain in the game. He is the head of Black Sun, and he is trying to influence, Vader into failure. He wants Vader to fail so that he will be at the Emperor's side. Very good game. I will say this, it does have a lot of changes in gameplay. As far as gameplay goes, 1 minute you're in a ship and you can do third or first person, and then it's like you're on a ground mission. And there's some of the missions that are on the ground, they're not the best because the camera angle is not exactly the best. But when you're talking about if something's a classic or not, it's all about whether you like it or not. Either you do like Star Wars and you do like things like that, or you don't. And that's kind of the whole point behind this, what I'm doing is just I want to talk about things that I like and enjoy. So I really enjoy that game. It's great. The graphics are a little old, they're a little not as, you know, updated as some of the new games, but it's a 64 game. You know that when you play it. So very good game, great story, love it. There's no multiplayer, but it's a fun time if you want to pop something, a game in and play it for a little bit or play all the way through it, because there's actually another ending if you play it on the next difficulty after easy. If you play it, I believe it's the normal or anything above that, all the way down to Jedi mode, which I've still never done that. It seems like it would be dang near impossible, but there are people out there that speedrun it on Jedi mode, and more power to them, because I don't believe I would be able to do that. But it's a very great game. So now I want to move on to one of my favorites of all time. I'm actually going to hold up 3 separate copies of this game. This is Star Wars Bounty Hunter. This game is one of my favorite games ever. It has a great storyline, and it follows the father of one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time, which is, of course, Boba Fett. But this game follows the character Jango Fett. And as everybody knows, as a Star Wars fan, Jango was the template for the clone army. They ended up helping the Republic in the Clone Wars in Star Wars. So, in the Jedi, right? The CIS, and it takes place kind of after Episode 1, in between Episode 1 and Episode 2, up until, like, right, before the Clone Army was formed. Not really Episode 2 in the sense that it goes into Episode 2, because it doesn't really. But basically, Jango is a bounty hunter. Everybody knows that. And it starts at, a point where he's just at this pit fight arena that this Toydarian owns named Rosada. And it starts there, he's fighting, bad guys. It just feels like this is Jango Fett. I'm playing as Jango Fett. You capture bounties. You get different weapons throughout the game. You go to different planets. You fight different, even aliens and things like that. Everything from Tusken Raiders to Gamorrean guards to just a ton of different, there's Trandoshans in it. There's just different, and some species I had never even seen until I played that game. And then on top of that, Count Dooku in the story is looking for someone to take out his old apprentice, Kamari Vosa, who is the leader of the Bando Gora. And he actually recruits Jango and Montrose. Not only is he looking for a clone template in the game, but he wants someone to take her out, or, dead or alive kind of deal. And it's a very great game. You run into a very familiar face, Zam-Wesell, in the game. And it shows how they meet, and then it shows how Jango acquires the Slave One, and what ship he had before he had the Slave One. And you learn that was Jaster Muriel. Who's Jaster Muriel? It actually has comics and outtakes that you can watch and unlock, which is just a great game. A concept art, Wizards of the Coast, the trading cards that are in the game that you can unlock as well. It's a very, very great game. Very fun game. It has good graphics to me to this day. You can get it on, new gen consoles as a download, which I've also done that. But I have the GameCube version, the PS2 version, the originals, which everybody knows it has. If you've seen it or a copy of it or played it, it has Jango on the front. He's a jetpack right in front of the Mythosaur, the symbol in the Mandalorians. And then he's got shooting both pistols off at the same time. Very great cover. But I do want to mention this before I, move on, is there's a limited edition cover art. And I don't know if everybody can see this, but just putting the two, I'll use the GameCube for comparison, side by side, everybody knows this cover. not many people know about this one here. This one is a limited edition cover art, and it has Django's, just his visor, his mask on it, his helmet, whatever, his helmet. That's for lack of a better term, his helmet, and it it's the same exact game. Even the disc has the other artwork on it, but it's just, I believe it was just, limited numbers, and it's just fun to have that. It's fun to have different versions of different games that I enjoy, if there's a limited edition or in a steel book or something like that. So I find that very interesting. Next is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I want to talk about this game just a little bit. I grew up, my brother played the game, and I would always hand it to him when I got either to Lord Jabu Jabu or, before I got to the Temple of Time. I never played the adult timeline, part of that until I was much older. I had it on the Wii Shop channel, which actually there's like 3 different versions. There's music that was removed. There's an Islamic chant in the Fire Temple. And if you know anything about Zelda, I mean, you know the story. Good versus evil. You've got Link versus Ganondorf, and they're trying to, Ganondorf wants the whole Triforce to himself so he can rule the world. And then Link kind of, him and Zelda devise a plan. I don't want to say the whole story, but to stop Ganondorf. And then in what Link does by going to the Temple of Time later, he unlocks the Sacred Realm to Ganondorf, and then Ganondorf just goes through and obliterates and changes everything within I think it's a 7-year span. And then you play through all those temples once you finish the child timeline. And you do go back to being a child later in the game and switching kind of back and forth a little bit. But a great game, good graphics to this day. There's also another thing I want to mention about it. It has, in the different versions, there's also in like the last version they released, the enemy blood for some of the enemies is actually green. They changed it. But in this 64 copy right here, it's, I believe, the second version. The music is not been changed on the Fire Temple, I believe. And then also the blood is red. So, and E for everyone, everybody. I mean, they didn't, it was a little different. It was a different time. We'll just say it that way. It's a different time there. That's the best way to say it. It's a great game. I enjoy it a lot. Still to this day, I still play through it maybe once a year sometimes. But I also want to mention another game, and I don't have a copy of it, but I do have the Wii Shop channel. I downloaded it years ago, and it just kind of sat, it just sat in my library. It was a game that I could play on one of the channels, and I looked at it and I was, man, I need to play that game, but I just don't know, I can't get into it. So I started just kind of, well, I'll try it for a little while, and then I would get bored with it. And one day a friend of mine said, you need to give Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask a chance. You need to just sit down, play it for a little bit, play it longer than maybe 10, 15 minutes. Play it, get into it. And it has a different story. It came out not long after Ocarina of Time it wasn't a very long span before they come out with Majora's Mask. And it uses the same engine that Ocarina of Time used. It uses that in Majora's Mask. So it's a great game. It has a different, kind of system as far as, the world is Termina and not Hyrule. And some of the characters look kind of familiar, but they're different characters in it. And then you see some familiar characters, some that you remember from Ocarina of Time. But it has a 3-day cycle, and you have to complete tasks and dungeons. There's only, I think, 4 dungeons. But there's a lot of side quests, and that's where I kind of got discouraged, because there's masks that you collect, there's heart pieces you collect, there's items you collect, just like the other one. But the masks, man, those masks, there was certain times you had to do certain things, so you had to know where to be at to do or get said mask. and or heart piece or things like that, and it used to beat me down that I couldn't get there, couldn't get so into it that I'm almost done with it. And just a side note, you can play through the game and not collect everything and not 100% it, but it being my first time, I wanted 100% it, and I almost 100% got everything. I think I was missing a few little knick-knack items here and there, just spots on the screen where there wasn't nothing and I didn't get it. But you can upgrade his sword. You can also Link's sword, so I'm referring to. You can use the different masks to do different things. Very, very great game. And what you're trying to do, you're trying to stop Skull Kid. He gets Majora's Mask from the Happy Mask Salesman, and he becomes full of just evil. And you're trying to stop him. The moon is going to crash into the land of Termina and destroy everything, kill everyone. So it's a very, very, very great game. And I recommend, if you never collected all the masks, if you have played it before and you never have, I recommend you do that, especially if it's your first time playing the game, because Majora is very, very, very hard without having the Fierce Deity mask to back you up to be able to defeat him. You can defeat him in I've done it no damage, and I mean, I didn't take any damage and I defeated him in a couple minutes. But with just using the bow, the fairy bow, and then using your sword and everything, he's pretty tough. He has 3 forms, and then in one of the forms he has the other mask from the other dungeons that you collect, the other main mask where you fight the other bosses. He has them attack you as well. So I recommend playing through it both ways. So very good game. And last but certainly not least is Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening Special Edition. One of my favorite games. I wasn't allowed to play it really, growing up, because your parents they're just parents. They want to be good parents, and they don't know about some of these things, and maybe they don't know about the game as much as but you know what it is, but maybe they don't. So wasn't allowed to play it when I was younger, but the older I got, I played through the Devil May Cry games, and my friend used to play it, and I always wanted to play that game. He had Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition as well, and I always wanted to play it, and never really did until just a couple years ago. I picked them up, all of them, and I played through them actually chronologically. So if you want to play through them chronologically, this is the first game. Devil May Cry, excuse me, I had a tongue twister. Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening. That is the first game chronologically, but not in the sense. It's kind of like a lot of the other movies, like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. It goes back and then goes forward. That's how this does. Very great game. I love playing as Dante. You can actually play as his brother Virgil as well in the game, and you get a bunch of different weapons. You can pick up things like blue orb. You can upgrade his attacks. Blue orbs, green orbs. It's a blast to play. I remember one of the I lost it. One of the demons that you fight in the game, it's like a big slug looking kind of snake thing, and you're trying to get all of the I believe it has armor on, and you're trying to get it to like fall off and have him, he's got to take damage. That's how you. And I always thought that I was just supposed to stand there and nail him with the pistols, man, this boss won't never, give. And you were actually supposed to get on top of said boss and attack, and that made more sense. So I thought that was pretty funny that I wasted like maybe 23 minutes trying to defeat this boss. And no, you just jump off the platform and there you are. You're on top of the boss and you're just, destroying his health bar. But very great game. It has a great storyline. I haven't played it in a while, but I really want to. My PS2 unfortunately had some issues recently. The fan doesn't want to work, so haven't been able to play it. I don't have the collection. You know, you can get the collection and then you can play all of them. It's 1, 2, and 3, I believe. But it's a great game, and it follows Dante right as he's starting out. You know, and you're fighting demons. There's different classes of demons, different types, and then there's this one guy. He's really kind of the comic relief. He's like a jester, and he is just hilarious. He is just a fun character. It's a great game, and they go back and forth. There's even bosses that go back and forth with you before they fight you. And I thought that was interesting. There's dialogue before a fight. It feels very kind of a little bit like God of War, but then a little bit like Resident Evil, and that is actually because the same people that made Resident Evil were going to make this into and they did. It did become a series, but they actually made those games. So I thought, had the idea for it. I thought that was very interesting, and it has a lot of great. You have swordplay and you have guns as well. So you have a lot of ways of attacking them. You can get a rocket launcher later. You can get and there's a bunch of I could mention all kind of characters, but it plays well. It looks good. Still, even if you play it on a PS2, it looks great. The other games look good. I will say that I was a little disappointed with Devil May Cry 2. That's another topic for another day, but it didn't blow me away like 3 did. That's all I'm going to say. 3 has a great story. It follows Dante, and then at the end with the confrontation with him and Virgil, man, it was a great game, a great time. So as always, if you can, give me a like, follow, and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Peace out.